Now, last year I talked about the rise of codev, how I think that fundamentally the games industry is changing with all these redundancies, with all these layoffs, and because we are shrinking, I think companies are trying to find new ways, better ways, more efficient ways to still do the same games they had before, but not spend as much, and becoming a little bit more flexible instead of so rigid, especially in a AAA kind of like, a sphere. Film has been doing this for a long time. And a film is normally made up from different departments and different crews that basically come in, do the job, come out, and then go to another production. And then even though it's much shorter and games going to take much longer, I do think that this is where we're going next. Now, that wasn't the last video. In this video specifically, I want to talk to you, everybody that is actually a game dev, an animator, a character artist, and he wants to apply to a studio like Rekindled, like our studio, because there is a specific way and certain traits that you need to have to be a freelancer or to work for a codev studio that makes you more or less successful in this journey as you go along. So, if this sounds interesting to you, welcome and let's get to it. Before we get to the video, a quick reminder that I have a book coming out called How to Thrive in the Games Industry. This book is for everybody. Doesn't matter if you're somebody outside of the industry that wants to get in as somebody that is maybe a novice in the games industry, or maybe even very experienced game developers that are looking for tips and tricks on how to be successful in this complicated industry of ours. So if you're interested, the book is coming out on the 28th of May. There's a link down below for you to pre-order it right now. And with that being said, back to the video. Now, talking about codev specifically is actually super interesting to me because it's funny enough, a few years back, I would never in a million years imagined that we would be here where we are now, where codeving is actually rising instead of diminishing, because I have had the pleasure of working as a codev for a studio outside of Rekindled in my earlier days. So specifically for me, the codev studios that I worked in across borders outside of the UK was actually China, Sweden, LA, and then I had the pleasure of working with like fellow codev developers from Nigeria and other places, and there's been a lot of learnings from it because I've been on both sides of the fence and I know more or less what to expect on both sides, and this gives me an interesting perspective because I felt like codev was something that you only use for big studios, you only use when you really want a little bump on the amount of assets that you want, on the quality of the assets that you want, but then you keep them for like 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then let's say you move on to the next thing. But now I think we're actually moving to codeving being a big part of game development, where I think that even in the future, codev studios would help develop games from beginning to end because of the knowledge that is being basically leaking in this industry. There's lots of experienced devs that basically are losing their jobs and are looking to make a mark, to have something to say, and studios are out there looking for those devs with experience, and that's really interesting to me because it means that there is more job opportunities if you know where to look. But in order for you to actually be okay with this way of working, you need to change your mindset a little bit. So, I'm going to talk about the smart submission versus a regular submission. A regular submission that we get at Rekindled, go and check us out, go and submit if you actually want after this, I'll leave a link down below, is very much like you are submitting to a codev studio as if you would submit to a game studio, where you just have your CV and it states your experience and it has a show reel and that's it. And in no part of your CV says that you actually have worked with a codev or you're willing to do it or anything like that. And then your show reel is very much catered to a game studio, which means that you only have one type of animation on your show reel, and that's okay for sure. It's no problem. If you have talent, you have talent. If you work in amazing places, great, because as a codev studio we look for similar things, but in some ways we look for different things. And here's the things that are different that makes you having a more smart submission going forward. A codev studio is there to help other studios. studios. And some studios, some code dev studios like ourselves, Rekindled, we embed ourselves with the teams, so we are part of the team. And some of the code dev studios, they are just there to kind of produce assets and deliver those assets, so they are a little bit more external. But regardless of what it is, you are looking for the perfect candidate. You are looking for somebody that actually has a little bit of that entrepreneurial spirit, has a company that has been set up already, and perhaps has worked with other code dev studios and has some experience and knows what to expect from this experience. Because for us, at least at Rekindled and most likely most code dev studios, we want to bet on you and make sure that we actually give you that opportunity, because we want everybody that is talented and humble and has an amazing personality. But at the same time, we need to know on our end that you are set up to work, but also that you understand that, for example, you need to pay for your own Maya license, because now you're working as an independent person, and you are willing to actually go the extra mile. And this is where the personality comes into play as well, because I think the personality of the animator and that tenacity and the professionalism really is more prevalent here working as a code dev than it is when you work full-time, because you as an animator, as a developer, you are representing the code dev studio, and if the studio looks good or bad, you are a little bit of a part of that. So if everybody's amazing, everybody's talented, if everybody is like super knowledgeable, it means that the studio is looking good for the clients around the world. But the same is true the opposite way, where, if everybody's lazy, if nobody's professional, then it starts to kind of like showcase to the world what this code dev studio is doing. So you have more responsibilities in a way as a code dev developer than you have when you're actually just working for that paycheck, the salary. Especially when you pass probation, it feels cushy, it feels nice, it feels like, you can just relax and stuff. With code dev, you have to be on your toes all the time. Now, let's talk about personality. Now, I think the personalities for me, for us at Rekindled, the personalities that thrive in code dev are normally the ones that are like humble but skilled, people that have lots of experience but still act as if they not only are hungry for it, but also act like, I'm all right, I'm not that great, I still have things to learn. Also, you need to know how to treat others. That human aspect, that connection, that is really important. And once again, I talked about it in my last video, where I talked about the fact that this is not something that you can learn. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's kind of innate to you. Is like you are born with it, right? You need to kind of treat others as if you like to be treated yourself. And this goes for everybody in a code dev studio, because we are all there to uplift the studio. And then longevity, being used to running or being in a project for a long time. Games take a long time, and therefore, because they take a long time, you need to make sure that you are ready to set up this game project or starting this game project in a code dev studio and know that it's going to run for the next year, 6 months, 2 years. But also know that if you're not happy with this, if the project is not making you happy, then most likely if you're in a code dev studio like ours in Rekindled, we have maybe other projects for you to jump onto. So it gives you opportunities, but just know that once you commit to something, that commitment becomes something important for any code dev studio. And if you say you're going to do something for the next year, then be ready to do it with a happy face, with like a nice personality, with all that stuff. Unless of course you're not happy, then we can have a conversation and maybe switch projects. But that professionalism in longevity, tenacity, all of it kind of counts big time for you to actually be successful in a code dev studio. And then lastly, dealing with clients. This most likely going to be mostly if you are a lead or if you are a producer or a director of some kind in a code dev studio. You're normally dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis. You're having meetings with them and stuff. And this is yet another angle that you have to deal with, because you are now one layer removed from game development. Because I used to, when you work in a studio, you are now talking directly with the game director. And fingers crossed, depending on the project, you might still do, but most likely it's going to be that you are talking with maybe a lead within the studio and that is taking care of the code devs, and now you're trying to communicate with them. Now, this communication becomes super, super important, because you are not only dealing with just a job, but you're dealing with a client. And obviously, if the project is fun and is great, you're looking to maybe extend that project, and instead of making 6 weeks into 6 months and 6 months into 6 years, because this is kind of how code dev is developed. So you need to also know that you need to be professional, but also know that you can over deliver if necessary, not in terms of crunch, but in terms of the actual work and the knowledge that you bring. And those things are things that you have to keep in mind, because you want to keep the ball rolling with different clients at all times. So it's yet another skill that you don't have when you work in a full-time job in a studio somewhere. Now, what are some of the practical steps that you can take right now in order to actually set up yourself for this codev world that is coming, that I believe is coming your way? I think one of the most important things that you can do is, companies are set up in different ways in different parts of the world, but one thing is true of all codevs is that normally when you start, you're starting as a freelancer. You're starting as your own company that can then lend services to a codev studio. So learn how to set up your own company. Here in the UK, we have limited companies, which I've had now for many years. If you have that, that gives the codev studio peace of mind to know that you are now set up to work with a codev studio, because now we can hire your services to work with us so we can go. But there's different ways of working with codev studios. Limited, like setting up a company, is not the only way. There's other ways as well, and it really depends on the individual. But having or knowing how to set up your company helps you a ton on the long run. Second thing, definitely get familiar with invoicing. Invoicing for your services, knowing how much you're worth, should be already something that you know. It should be something that you have clear. At this point in time, you shouldn't really be asking how much should I get paid for the job. It should be very much like, I know roughly the ranges that I'm going to charge depending on the project, depending on like the codev studio that I want to work in, depending on how much I want to work on the project. You should not have a hard number. You should have a range and then just work within that range. But then after you know that range, then get used to basically knowing how to invoice professionally, nicely. Have a platform like Zero, for example. It's an amazing platform. Invest in that. It's part of your business, and now you can actually have a place where you can keep all the invoices in order to make sure that everything is nice. Now, another one is one that I mentioned before, which is be ready to pay for your own licenses. So if you use Maya, if you use 3D Max, if you use ZBrush, all of those things now need to live with you, and you are the one that needs to pay for them. And this is something that stops a lot of people, I think, because when you start to find out that you have to pay for things in order to do work, it's a bit like, what is this going on? But the way I like to think about it is very much that you have a business, and therefore you need to invest in the business, and what you pay for a license is going to be very little in comparison to the salary that you get. And when you actually put taxes and software and all that stuff, you're most likely going to still earn more because you're contracting from a codev studio than you would from a big studio. Now, finally, the bigger picture. I actually just looked at the GDC 2026 report because it's something that I like to see. And basically the main takeaway from all this is very much that the industry right now is on a reset phase, and everybody's trying to find out exactly where we're going and how we're going to do things. I think the best thing that you can do for yourself as a professional is try to adapt. Like, read this GDC 2026 report, like read it. Don't take it to heart, obviously, because a lot of these things is about like what has happened and then trying to find out exactly where we're going. But know that you need to change your ways a little bit in order to fit into this new way that we are going next. And nobody truly knows exactly where we're going next. We're all trying to figure it out exactly how it is. And I don't know for sure that codev is going to explode, but everything that I've seen so far seems to be that way. And if it is, then I think there's no harm in you getting used to not only the idea, but also like there's no harm in you setting up a limited company or a company of your own. As long as it doesn't cost you very much, you are ready. Zero, if you can afford it, then maybe have it ready. Maybe look for clients, maybe inquire with some codev studios to see if they might be interested. Join us at Rekindled. Submit your application through our website. That helps you as well. So those things kind of like make you ready for a future, an unknown future of where we're going, because we know that regardless of where we end up, I don't think the next 10 years are going to look like the last 10 years. And this is where you need to kind of like start thinking slightly different. And based also in some reports that I've read recently, about 1 in 5 animators are actually already working as freelancing. So to me, I think that this is where we are going. I think people have to get used to that freelancing is now a new reality instead of being a niche thing that used to be before. So I think that is wise for you to actually get used to this idea, do your research, and I hope this video has helped you. And if it has, don't forget, like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this new future that we might be facing not so long from here. And until the next video, stay safe, stay well. Peace. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you super enjoyed it, leave a super thanks. It's like leaving a little tip and it directly supports the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can continue to see my videos and get your weekly dose of betterness.